The master of suspense over. The
Threw me
anticipation's
off.
killing me.
It was on the off-season thing. I'm like,
The anticipation's killing me.
Okay.
He's a master of suspense.
Also trying to figure out the cold open, but I got it now. On today's episode of the Locked On NHL podcast, McDavid and Draisaitl are hurt. Oh my!
You're Locked On NHL, your daily podcast on the National Hockey League. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome into another episode of the Locked On NHL podcast, your daily podcast on the NHL. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, and we are your team each and every day. And we thank you for making Locked On NHL your first listen each and every day as well. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube so you don't miss out on any new episodes throughout the week. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. On today's episode of Locked On NHL, we'll talk about some key injuries for the Edmonton Oilers as they now find themselves in a virtual tie with the Los Angeles Kings, while also having to navigate through injuries to two of their arguably most important players. So we'll talk about what happened and what it means for the Oilers. We'll also take a look at the St. Louis Blues, fresh off of yet another win and riding the strength of Cam Fowler. They now find themselves solidly in the postseason and trying to do better than that. And we'll also recap some of the biggest stories of the weekend. As there was a notable retirement, there was nearly a goalie fight. We've got a lot to discuss in segment 3. Seth Topal, host of Locked On Wild, joined by JD Young, host of Locked On Sharks here today. And JD, I very eloquently poised it at the start of the show. This might be a little bit of a problem for the Edmonton Oilers, because you can still be a good team with one or the other. But if you have Connor McDavid, who's going to be out of the lineup, and you also have a hampered Leon Draisaitl, that's a problem.
That is a problem. But the good thing is we got like 12 games left for the Oilers. So and this sounds like that it's probably going to be, we're going to be very much in the week-to-week territory. I think they've already announced that neither Draisaitl or McDavid are going to play this week, which again, you have to take a long-term picture with this of the season, right? And yes, it feels very much like we're going to see the Kings and Oilers locked in for the 1,000,000th straight time, but getting these two guys healthy for the playoffs is number one. And I think right now, if you're the Oilers, you have to think about, right, having them healthy for the playoffs and trying to make sure that they're healthy. And you're going to be potentially getting back a lot of pieces at the beginning of the playoffs here, but just bad timing for a team that has been playing okay. They're 6-3-1 in their last 10 here. But still, like, this is a team like, and maybe you got a little, like, the schedule is kind of okay-ish here going down the stretch. They play Dallas, then they play Seattle, Calgary, they play Vegas, they play the Sharks. They play the Sharks 3 times here in the last. So you should be okay. If you can play the Sharks 3 times in the last 12 games, you should be okay right there.
Yeah, it has been an injury run that rivals what the Minnesota Wild have dealt with all season. Because Stuart Skinner left the game against the Jets. Now he was labeled as fine and not really in any danger to miss. Well, that's another question. But it is interesting, Chris Knobloch's comments about Leon Draisaitl, in that this is something that he could probably play through if it was the playoffs, but they're obviously taking the cautious approach. And
which they should.
Yes, 100%, because we got a little taste of kind of what that looks like last year where the Oilers, they came down to, they got into the Stanley Cup final, but Leon Draisaitl and Connor McDavid both were like corpses. They were so injured in that series and were just basically trying to like will the team to a Stanley Cup win by being almost decoys at that point. So there's a little bit of a difference with every player. You know, you get hurt, you're at 70%, 75%. With players like Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl, that's not noticeable because they're so much better than pretty much everybody else.
Yep.
But it is an interesting, like, who is going to step up and kind of fill the void in the meantime. And we got a little bit of an indicator as to who, and it's somebody that the Oilers frankly need to kind of pick it up a little bit, is Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, who had a hat trick against the Kraken. He is somebody that can certainly help fill the void. He won't fill all of it, but he's somebody that can certainly step in and try to help this Oilers team as they try to keep pace. They try to keep up because now they're in a dead heat with the Kings, and the Kings are looking like a juggernaut right now.
Yeah, but the good thing is, like, they have a 10-point lead on Calgary and 11-point lead on Vancouver. So, and again, like, it's okay. We have to go on the road the first round. Like, okay, we had to play one extra game. Like, that's fine. You've beaten this team of, a bajillion times in a row versus the Kings. And I think for though kind of that who steps in, right? I mean, you look at some of these guys that they went out, right? Jeff Skinner, who has not had a good season, right? You thought that he was going to be a really nice addition. It's been kind of in and out of the lineup, right? Corey Perry, who's 1,000 years old, but still kind of gets it done. Now he's playing second line minutes for you. Like you're having to kind of ask some of these guys to come in and do a little bit more for you that and then you even talk about Trent Frederick, who they, went out and acquired this at the trade deadline. Like that's a lot of pieces that are kind of missing. So I think for the Oilers right now, it's just get to the playoffs, which it feels like they should be. And especially again, when you play the Sharks 3 times in the last 12 games, you should be able to get some wins there. Get to the playoffs and just make sure everybody's healthy. And they're very much going to be the, what's his name, with the take off the wheelchair, take off the blanket, and he's fine and just gets up and walks in. That's going to be the Oilers when they get to the playoffs. So, and assuming McDavid and Draisaitl, and McDavid's talking about like how much the Four Nations took out of him and how intense that was, and like he jumped right back into it. Didn't really get a break that you saw a lot of the other players take right after the Four Nations. So he's just taking his break a little bit later in the season right now, and I think for him and Draisaitl, lessons learned from last year to a deep playoff run of just get healthy. You've secured your spot. That's why you brought in guys like Skinner, and that's why like Corey Perry and Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, who's a former first overall pick. Like these guys can handle the load here at the end of the season and kind of keep things going. Just try to stack up as many points as you possibly can here, and just get ready to face the Kings in the first round. So I'm not worried. Are you like if we get to like a week before the playoffs and they're not practicing yet, then you can like count me in as like, okay, I'm getting worried. But from the sound of it, like I wouldn't be surprised if Draisaitl, McDavid, maybe that last week, try to get some games in to kind of tune up before the regular season. And again, you're playing the last kind of week of the season, you're playing the Sharks, you're playing the Jets, you're playing Vegas, and you're playing the Sharks to end the season. So if you can get a couple games in there, you're just to kind of get back up to speed before the playoffs start, I think you'll be okay.
Yeah, the schedule for the Oilers runs all the way to April 16th. So I would say if we have not started to have signs of life, like kind of resuming, getting ramped up by like the week of the 7th,
I would say like because the Oilers go on a big road swing like through Vegas and California from the 1st to the 7th. that Wednesday the 9th home game, like kind of circle that as a like return type of game, because then they come back from the road trip. Okay, look who's here waiting for you to get home. Mom and Dad, Draisaitl and McDavid are ready for you guys to get home. So
I like that. Yeah, I think that's a good spot to circle it. So we will see, because obviously, as we said, it's an Oilers team that just doesn't quite have that same dynamic. If Draisaitl,
you mean taking 2 of the 5 best players off your team, you're not as good.
Shock.
2 of the 5 best players in the NHL off your team. Shocking to hear, Seth. That is why they come to here.
Yeah, this is the analysis that people are just dying to get, and this is the analysis that you can only get right here on Locked On NHL. Now, a team in the Oilers who is now jockeying for position with the Los Angeles Kings. We switch gears and talk about a team that is white hot, red, white, and blue hot, riding the sheer strength of Cam Fowler to a solidified postseason spot. We'll talk about the St. Louis Blues as wild card 2 as we continue today's episode of Locked On NHL after this. Today's episode of Locked On NHL is brought to you by FanDuel. March Madness is here, and FanDuel is giving you the chance to get in on the action like never before. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That's $200 to use on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories and even who's cutting down the nets. It's so easy to hop in with games now Thursday, Friday, all weekend for the Sweet 16. Just pick a team. Pick a team to win in their NCAA tournament game. And if you cash in, well, you're going to be going home very, very happy. So visit FanDuel.com to get in on the college hoops action all tournament long.
Looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious? Crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help keep you feeling fuller longer. Personally, I love the in-shell variety. I like just cracking them open. I like using the shells to build a little fort. They're delicious. They're nutritious. But if you don't like the shells, they have the no-shell variety as well with a ton of different flavors. So no matter how you're feeling that day, they got you covered. Get snacking and get cracking with the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more.
Welcome back to today's episode of Locked On NHL. Once again, we thank you for making Locked On NHL your first listen each and every day. Seth and JD discussing the St. Louis Blues, who quite literally may never lose again. And it is a St. Louis Blues team that's 6-1-1 in their last 8. They're scoring 4 goals per game, giving up just
12, 2-2 since the 4 Nations break.
Wow.
That's pretty good.
And it's looking more and more like a team that is trying to do exactly what, well, not quite exactly, but similar to what the 2019 St. Louis Blues did, where they just were like, hey, we don't want to be last anymore. Let's go worst to Stanley Cup. But it's looking like a Blues team that is pretty dangerous. I mean, just listen to, like, since the trade deadline, they've got a power play operating at 35%. Their penalty kill is at 93%. If we peel that back to, like you said, the 4 Nations face-off break, the Blues have the most points in the league at 25, 12-2-1. They're still averaging 4 goals per game in that span, and their power play is at 30.3%. It's looking like a Blues team that is more of a, like, hey, we finally put it together, than a team that is like, hey, we just got hot right at the right time.
Are they? Because look at the teams they beat. They are feasting on poopy teams. They beat this, like, they've won their 6th straight, right? They beat Nashville, Chicago, Vancouver in overtime, who can't do it, like, can't get out of their own way, right? Nashville, Anaheim, your Minnesota Wild. Before they lost to the Penguins, they lost in overtime to the Kings, and then they beat the Ducks. Like there's some like they beat the Caps in there, they beat Colorado and stuff. But like, yes, they're playing better, but like you're also playing some of the worst teams in the NHL. So I think the question is, do you buy it? Do you buy that this team can make noise in the playoffs, or are they just getting hot right now because they're playing some of the worst teams? And they play Montreal, who is playing well right now and fighting for a playoff spot coming up. They play Nashville. They play Colorado, who's like looks like a juggernaut right now. Then you play Detroit, who's fallen on their face. Pittsburgh, like to end the season, there's some soft teams in there as well. So do you buy that the Blues, one, make the playoffs, and two, can they make some noise?
Well, here's how I'll phrase this. They feel like the only team that wants it.
Yeah, that is true. Everybody else is trying to just give this thing away.
Like I know the Flames have won 3 in a row, but they're 5-5 in their last 10. Vancouver's lost 2 in a row.
Utah can't get out of its own way bad. It's so bad.
Like the Flames cannot score goals. Like they can't for the life of them score goals. And you're putting a lot of pressure on a young rookie goaltender to lead you to the promised land. And it just feels like at some point that's going to kind of cave in on itself. Vancouver is just they're the dad in the infomercial trying to carry all the stuff out to the car. Yeah.
Love that clip.
Yeah.
Love that
clip. That's the perfect representation of what Vancouver is this year. Utah, I mean, they're still technically in it. But they are 6 points back at this point. They are also 5-5 in their last 10. Those are the only three teams that are going for it. Anaheim, they're out. Seattle was out a long time ago. Nashville was out a long time ago, and Chicago and San Jose have actually been mathematically eliminated.
Hashtag blessed, baby.
So it is going to be those other three that are fighting for this spot, but it feels like St. Louis is the only team that's really like seizing the moment to grab this, because those games that you mentioned, there are timelines that exist where they lose those games, because that is the kind of team that St. Louis has been early in the season, is losing a lot of games that they just frankly had no business losing. And so credit to them for putting this stretch together. And winning the games that they should, but
winning the games you're supposed to win. It's as dumb as it sounds. It's actually harder. Like it is important to just win the games you're supposed to win.
Just go take a look at anybody's schedule and anybody's record, and there are a bunch of those egg games on the docket here this year. There are a ton of them. Lots of eggs.
I am curious. So, like, look at this, because you do like. The Blues do have a 4-point lead right now. The Flames do have 3 games in hand. But again, like the Flames can't score right now. The Canucks have 2. The Canucks and Utah both have 2 games in hand. And so like it's not over yet. I will say, though, I say with the Blues, they do have a positive goal differential, which is you look at the other teams in that area, it's a little, they're the only one of those teams who has a positive goal differential right now, of like even your Minnesota Wild right now are -1, but I know Kaprizov not being there for half the season now definitely hurts that, but
he is gonna start skating this week.
But I mean, but like you said, credit to the Blues though, who are making, like, again, taking advantage of the opportunity here. Here's a either or type of question, or do the Blues take? What's more likely? That's probably the way we want to phrase this. What's more likely? Do the Blues take the first wild card spot from the Wild, or do they end up out of the playoffs?
Wow, that's a good question.
Because they're 4 points behind the Wild right now. The Wild do have 2 games in hand. Or do they lose their spot and don't make the playoffs at all?
I think it's more likely that they lose their spot, because the Minnesota Wild have been holding that spot down if they are able to keep that spot and get Kirill Kaprizov back,
they have squatters' rights right
Yeah.
now. The Minnesota Wild have that wild.
they've already
two
staked
spot.
territory on that wild card one
They're
spot.
legally allowed to live there now, I think so. Yes.
But like if they get Kirill back and he is even close to where he was at the beginning of the season, that's I think going to be enough for them to run away with that first spot. Did you know that Cam Fowler has 12 points in his last 19 games?
Those jerseys going up in value, baby.
He is also a plus 10, which is tied for the lead for the St. Louis Blues in that span with Robert Thomas. So that is that's your Cam Fowler stat update that nobody asked for.
Nobody, just us.
Yeah, I was just doing that for me. But yeah, it's going to be interesting because the other way to spin this is what a massive, hideous swing and miss for the Boston Bruins to just say, hey, turns out you are the problem, Jim Montgomery, and we're going to let you go.
Not the aging roster. Yeah, that's falling apart. Yeah.
Turns out he was not the problem. The Bruins have lost 6 in a row. They are currently 30-42. 30, 33, and 9. But as I like to say, overtime losses are losses that take longer. So it's 30-42. They look really bad. Like,
believe me, I watched them on Saturday. The Sharks, when the Sharks are taking it to you, buddy.
Not great, Bob. Well, I do like your question, and I will say that I think it will be I think the Blues have a better chance of missing than they do of catching the Wild. But
I agree. I think the game's played in hand really.
Yeah.
Really
at this point in the year, that's like having that's basically having extra points banked.
Yep.
If you win the games. We're going to finish by taking a look at some of the big headlines from around the weekend. A notable retirement, a near goalie fight again, which is going to lead me to absolutely blow my stack here, lose my mind, because we have to stop trying to stop these. We literally stop trying to stop these. But we'll talk about that and plenty of other items as we finish today's episode of Locked On NHL after this.
There's nothing like watching basketball live. The energy of the crowd, the sound of the sneakers on the hardwood, and maybe even a celebrity sighting at courtside. If you want to catch a game in person, Game Time makes getting tickets easier than ever. Game Time's new feature, Game Time Picks, filters out the fluff to show you only the best deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time scrolling through thousands of tickets. I've used Game Time Picks to go to the Shark Tank. You can go catch a Warriors game or whatever team you prefer. Maybe some March Madness items. They highlight their super deals, giving the best bang for your buck and peace of mind that you can, one, see your seats before you buy. Nothing worse than getting to an arena and realizing your seats stink. No surprise fees and a lowest price guarantee. You can book with total confidence. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONNHL, LOCKEDON NHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time.
Final segment of today's episode of Locked On NHL. Once again, we thank you for making Locked On NHL your first listen each and every day. And we're going to go a little Jeopardy inspired theme here to finish off the show, because there are plenty of items that have made news here over the last few days that we wanted to discuss. And so we're going to potently potabilize them. Did not stick the landing on that. Should have crowdsourced that before.
The 2-person crowd. I'm going to go goalie fights for 100. The answer is, can we stop this? Like, seriously, if it was 2 fourth-line dudes like going at it, like nobody cares. Like the refs are going to be like, you guys do your thing. There's like few things in sports that draw everyone together, right? You have buzzer beaters in the March Madness, right? Everyone, Maryland kid, right, hits the buzzer beater. Oh my gosh, everyone stops what they're doing, right? You have a goalie goal, right? Everybody stops it. Joe Thornton getting a hat trick with almost a one, trying to get that fourth goal, right? Everybody. But getting a goalie fight. This is one of those rare, like, we don't see it every time. And it feels like every time we're on the precipice of getting one, the ref's got to come in and stop it. And it is utter crap that they stop it.
The last occurrence that this nearly took place was, of course, Jordan Binnington and Marc-Andre Fleury,
which would have been, we would still be talking about that to this day.
Yeah, you have one of the most mild-mannered NHL players of all time,
beloved player.
Basically yelling, "I'm going to cave his face in," and the refs are like, "No, not today. You will not upstage me on the national stage." And now you have this instance, and again, like, what is I suppose the rationale is, well, they're wearing all that gear, and there's a chance that somebody just gets really awkwardly
tired,
falls. I don't know. Like, let them talk it out. Let them fight it out. You're gonna get like 2 punches from a goalie, and that's gonna be it.
And we're going to go crazy for 3 weeks about it. So, yeah. There's also almost the Devin Dubnyk Binnington one. Sharks legend Devin Dubnyk back in the COVID season where they almost fought too. So,
well, what was the one several years ago where John Gibson, actually, I don't know if it was even John Gibson, but it was the Ducks.
I think it was Gibson. He just like stands at the line, like waiting, and yes,
iconic. He skates up to the blue line and he puts his hands on his stick like he's just a Knights Templar with a giant sword.
I was gonna say he's that guy in the white suit is just standing there. He's gonna do something cool. That was, he's gonna do something cool, and then you're gonna miss it. That's us. We keep missing it. NHL, please. Just give us one. Give us one.
Just one.
You know what? It doesn't have to be an all the time thing. But like one a season, we're not asking for too much here. So
or even
Seth,
just
the board is yours.
When the opportunity presents itself, just let them fight it out.
Let's let them fight.
That's
it
all.
Seth,
I will take notable player retirement for 400. That being Mr. Pat Maroon, who announced over the weekend, I'm hanging it up. And it's interesting because Maroon is a guy that never put up big stats, but it feels like he was a pivotal piece of several Stanley Cup teams, like the St. Louis Blues, obviously, and then as a piece of the Tampa Bay Lightning. Like, it feels like he played enough of a role that if you take him off those teams, they may not win the cup.
Yeah, he's going to be one of those guys who, again, you're going to he's beloved by whatever team he plays for, right? He's one of those guys. He's your emotional support fourth line player that everybody loves. They're going to defend him if he's on your team. The fat Pat Maroon things from the Bruins announcer, just an absolute joke. But yeah, he's one, and you hated playing against him because, again, he's just a total professional. He's going to make your bottom six look bad constantly, and he's going to come in clutch and score or do something big when his team needed the most. So I love that too. They did it, with Chicago, but since he's from St. Louis, they did it in St. Louis. They kind of had that nice little nod. They give the St. Louis crowd, who they very much do love their hometown kids in St. Louis. They gave that crowd an opportunity to kind of show him some love and stuff like that. So I like when they do that. I'm not a big fan of the Derek Jeter, I'm going to go on tour for a year and do my retirement thing that way. But I do like the night, we're near the end of the season. It's been a lost season for the Blackhawks. Let's make something nice out of it here. So
yeah, I like the matter of factness about I'm hanging it up.
I'm done.
Yeah. But he's going to be, he's one of the good personalities, I think, in the NHL. The thing that I'm going to be, just as a broadcast nerd, the thing that I'm going to be interested in is does he end up doing like this feels like a dynamite fit for TNT, like to snag him and throw him into the studio, maybe not as like a prominent piece of that broadcast team, but just as one of the rotators.
Or some teams can get a awesome analyst too, like with their play-by-play. I could totally see that. Like, yeah,
it does feel like he's got a little broadcast in his future.
I could totally see that. I am going to go New Rain ? For 600 and talk about the LA Kings, who are just beating teams down right now. 7-2 win over the Hurricanes, who have now, that was like their only loss in like 1,000 years. And then doing it to the Bruins again. Beating the Bruins isn't the biggest thing in the world, but this Kings team, right? Like, and especially we talked about the Oilers. If McDavid and Draisaitl can't get back to being healthy, and this Kings team, can this be the year where they finally do something other than lose to the Oilers in the first round? So, and I think Byfield has been massive for them. Hopefully, maybe the goaltending can stick together. But if the offense is scoring 7 goals a game right now, you just ride the 7 goals a game right now. So
you can give Darcy Kemper the night off, but Darcy Kemper has done a pretty darn good job in his last like 10 starts. I think he's got 6 wins, something along those lines. So
just he's been fighting there.
Yeah, should have had a goalie fight. I'm still bitter about that, but that is, I think, where we're going to leave it for today's episode. Appreciate everybody tuning in as always. Make sure to like and subscribe before you head out for the night so you don't miss out on any new episodes throughout the week. We got a full array of panelists that host Locked On NHL throughout the week, so make sure to tune in each and every day for a new spin on the NHL from us here at Locked On NHL. We've got new episodes for you every Monday through Friday as part of the Locked On Podcast Network.